Hello and welcome to another Breakfast Club from Fantasy Football Scouts. Here we will look over our Gameweek 29 transfer and captaincy decisions and look ahead to the upcoming blanks and doubles. We'll also reveal the lunchtime lineups, which today involves the North London Derby sides. And today I'm joined by David and Mark, aka the FPL General. Firstly, FPL General, welcome. How are you?
I'm very well, lads. Morning. You're lucky you've got me here. It's a rare Saturday morning where I actually slept in. So I had some trouble overnight with a few dodgy teenagers outside my house about 5 a.m. So I had to get up and get the police involved. Went back to bed and woke up about half an hour ago. So thankfully I woke up before deadline. It could have been an absolute disaster. But I'm here and I'm half awake at least.
They weren't followers who were upset with your season, were they?
They could have been. I was too afraid to go and confront them, so I just let the police deal with it. So
Really,
yeah, that's all right.
Placards saying Captain Aguero more often, that type of thing. Yeah, I suspect it was probably a little rowdier than that. But yeah, David, welcome. How are you? Any teenagers keep you up at night?
No, I have a 1-year-old that does that, so that's all good. Yeah. So, but I didn't call the police, not this time. Might do if she does it again.
Okay. Well, that's good. So yeah, mixed bag then for both of you in terms of your preparations for the game week. Firstly, let's turn to your team, Mark. So I'm going to put that up on the screen here. So we're also podcasting this as well afterwards. So let people know who you've got in your team as well. So yeah, with 4 red arrows in a row and a rank of 360k. You'll be hoping to turn it around, I imagine, in Game Week 29. What moves have you made?
I've actually done absolutely nothing, partly because of all the antics last night. But yeah, so this week I heavily weighed up getting Sterling in because I think Sterling's the best captaincy option this week. And I was weighing up on -4, but it probably would have meant losing Aguero to do so. Now, I am slightly worried that Aguero will get a rest, but at the same time, he may start and get 60, 70 minutes. So I decided against the -4 for Sterling in the end and captained Pogba. So I've held on to Aguero, and even if he does get a rest this week, I want to captain him against Watford next week. So I think when in doubt, do nout is something I tend to follow. So 2 free transfers for Game Week 30 then.
Yeah.
So they've got Salah, Hazard, and Pogba. Was between those 3 really for captaincy, and I've settled on Pogba just looking at his home record under Solskjaer. 15 points against Huddersfield, 18 against Bournemouth, then Brighton and Burnley. He got at least 7 points there as well. So Liverpool was the only home game that he's blanked under Solskjaer. So I really like that fixture against Southampton this weekend, and that's why I've settled on Pogba. So yeah, on paper it's a good team for the weekend, but that usually doesn't mean it's going to be a good game. So let's see what happens.
It does. No, it is a good team on paper as well. And I look at that and you wonder why you're 360k because that's a planned team there. You've got a good mix of players that are playing during those blanks as well. And as you said, you've got 3 captain choices. I mean, possibly if we thought Aguero was a definite starter, you've even got 4, but you've definitely got 3, and that's quite rare, really, to have 3 players that you definitely want to captain. But just looking back on the season so far, how have you got to the position you're in at the moment? Were there any kind of key things that happen? And the reason I asked that question is a bit like the Meet the Manager video that we did. Really, it's things that you may have learned and take forward into next season, and also to help those listening and watching as well who might have met similar challenging situations.
Yeah, I think the question is to what has gone wrong. I would say everything has gone wrong that could go wrong this season. I think I've used up all my good luck in the last 4 or 5 seasons, and I was probably due a season like this, to be fair. Everything I touched in the last few seasons turned to gold, and everything I've touched this season has turned to something that is not as nice as gold. So I think one of the keys for me, you're saying my team looks good on paper now, but it's probably taken me a long time to get to a team I'm happy with. And my bench is still weak, but I think that goes all the way back to Game Week 1, and I didn't nail my Game Week 1 squad, which was, I think it's key to get a good start, and I was probably ranked over 1 million after 4 or 5 game weeks, so it's always been a bit of a struggle. So yeah, a couple of decisions Game Week 1 that went against me. I went for Ben Davis and Eriksen, over the likes of Robertson and Mane and things like that. So I was on a lot of on the wrong side of a lot of 50-50 decisions this season as well, whereas in previous seasons I would have got lucky with those ones. I think one of the biggest issues for me has been captaincy, which again I think is one of the most important aspects of the game. I haven't been as strong with my captaincy picks as I have been as well in recent seasons. So hopefully Pogba can do well this weekend. I think it's the first time I've captained Pogba, and I've always said I find it pretty hard to trust him, but I find it harder to trust Hazard. So hopefully Pogba can do the business.
Yeah, no, I think you're right about the captaincy as well. And when we come to David's team, David's been doing really well with the captaincy this season, which is why he's so high in the rankings. But it's dipped off in recent weeks, and I think recent weeks have been tricky, even trickier for the captaincy as well. Reliable Salah blanking in a 5-0 home game against Watford. I mean, I pinpointed Salah because I thought Watford were there for the taking. The underlying stats were there. That away from home against the big sides, they were in for a mauling, and that's what happened. But I couldn't. It's one of those things. It's really hard to fathom, and it came at a time for yourself and me as well, where we really needed that after getting a lot of red arrows in a row, and really needed that change as well. And I think this is the first week I'm going to captain Pogba as well. David, what do you think about Pogba as the key captain, especially for those that don't have Sterling?
Yeah, no, I think he's the one to go for. I think General's obviously touched there about his trustworthiness, which, in recent years hasn't been there. But since Solskjaer's turned up, it's been incredible. The transformation was so quick and so powerful that he, to me, I mean, so for me, I was torn between him and Salah. Perhaps talk a little bit about, I think we're all in agreement really that Salah is worth holding on to. A lot of people thinking about getting rid of him. Maybe talk about that in a bit more detail later. So I think just to say, I think he has a good case. What gave me the edge over Pogba in the end was just United at home against a team outside the top 6 has just been a home banker for points for Pogba. So I've done the same. I'm going with Pogba in, and that was just I was toying over it for a couple of days, and just this morning I just thought, that's just absolutely the game that you want to captain a player in. Whereas obviously Salah, while I think Everton look ready for a bit of a thrashing, it's still a Merseyside derby, and that sometimes kind of that mentally affects or improves the poor defence. I mean, it might not actually happen, but it's more likely to happen than Southampton. What have they got to be up for away at Man United other than survival? But I don't think they're good enough to keep a clean sheet. So it just makes total sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think they'll be looking. Southampton will either. I think when they drew with Chelsea, I think that was a one-off against the big teams. I think they spotted something with Chelsea. They spotted some frailty there, which was evident. And I just don't think Manchester United have that as well. There's a couple of other issues I want to talk to you about, Mark, with your team. One is your bench. One of your issues you've had in recent weeks is not having a bench. I think last time you were on, it was revolutionary only in the number of red flags, that is, your bench. But now you've actually got one. You got Wan-Bissaka back. And good news, Balbuena, finally, just in time for the blanks, which is when you want him as well. And so he should get back into the side as well. But you still got Kamara there, the yogic guy, the yogic fighter. But looking at that, it looks like you're quite well prepared for game weeks 31 or 33, or certainly getting there. What is your chip strategy? Is it, I'm assuming it's build up for game weeks 31 and 33, free hit 32, and then see what happens from there on with the wild card. Is that right?
Yeah, you've got it. You can guess from the players I've really got. Back to having a sub, it feels amazing to go into a game week having one sub. So I'm very excited about that this week. I'm pretty sure I'll probably need Wan-Bissaka off the bench this week. So hopefully you can get a clean sheet there. That's again going back to what's gone wrong for me this season. A lot of bad luck with the bench players getting injured and getting sent to Turkey and things like that. So I've had TAA, I've had Lucas Dina, I've had a lot of bad luck there as well. But Balbuena is going to be my secret weapon whenever he can get himself back on the pitch. I've seen West Ham are calling him the general as well, so maybe there's something there for me in 31 and 33. Maybe it's just meant to be that he'll come in with a few 15 pointers if West Ham can start keeping clean sheets. Back to chip strategy then. For the last couple of weeks, every game week I've been close to wildcarding, and I weighted up again this week. But looking at my team on paper, it doesn't feel like the right time to do so. So I am probably going to continue building for 31 and 33. I think if Balbuena can get himself fit, I've currently got 8 for 31, and I've got 2 free transfers next week, so I can get to 11 without any hits. I'd be happy to play 9 or 10 anyway that week, so it'd be great to get to 11. Then most likely wildcard 34, bench boost 35, like I've done in previous seasons. That just leaves the triple captaincy then for a single game week. And I consider, if I got Sterling in this week, I would have been very tempted to triple captain him against Bournemouth. But most likely it'll be Mo Salah. And I'm looking at game week 31 for Fulham. Again, St. Patrick's Day, so maybe a bit of the luck of the Irish for the triple captaincy chip, or Huddersfield 36. So that's where I'm at with chips at the moment.
Yeah, I think that's wise, because with Salah, it was around about the kind of this time last season where he was doing well, and towards the end of the season he was a bit patchy. I seem to remember there was a Southampton game, it was 0-0, it was quite a surprise, but that came because they had that Champions League run as well. There's one player in your team I want to mention, and this because it gives me basically any excuse to get my goals imminent table out. So, but just before I do that, I just wanted to go through your team for those listening on the podcast version as well. You've got Fabianski this week. You've got Fabianski in goal, Doherty as in the back line, Pereira from Leicester, Robertson, and then in midfield, got a 5-man midfield: Anderson, Salah, Hazard, Pogba, and Harvey Barnes. So Barnes is a player I want to mention in a sec. And then you've got Jimenez and Aguero up front. And as you said, you have a bench, well, Wan-Bissaka. But I'm going to put the goals imminent table up. And look who is at the top of that excellently for you is Barnes. It's Harvey Barnes. It's been quite amazing, really, for his price, 5.5. He's been starting. We've got to be hoping that Rodgers keeps picking him. He's a player I've got my eye on for the blanks as well. He has had, over the last 4 matches, 18 goal attempts, but no goals. And lots of shots in the box, 13, but just 3 on target. So if he can improve his accuracy just a tiny bit, he's going to get some really good returns. And he's at top of that goals imminent table, and behind him is Salah and Rondon. Rondon's often there, doesn't score a bit for about 4 games and then suddenly gets a couple. Maddison is there too. Rashford, I got rid of Rashford last week. I'm regretting that already. He's going to punish me. And also Shane Duffy as well. So one for the Brighton fans there. But yeah, what prompted you to get Barnes in? Had you been looking at those stats there, or was it the eye test? Because I know that you're very keen on the eye test.
Yeah, for Harvey Barnes in particular, it was all eye test. Very impressed by him, coming back from West Brom. I hadn't ever seen him play before, and then I watched the first Leicester game he played, and he caught my eye right away. And he's been excellent. I think he's a player that Rodgers will like as well. So I'm not worried about him losing his place. I think he's played well enough to keep that place on the left-hand side, especially when Albrighton is out as well. So I'm very hopeful. I've had him for 2 weeks. I think this is my 3rd week owning him. So he hasn't really done anything for me yet. But I'm hopeful this weekend against Watford he can do something. And long term, we know Leicester have great fixtures. So I really do like Barnes. I think Leicester in general are an exciting team now with Rodgers coming in. I think Maddison, we could see the best of Maddison, and Vardy as well. A player I've been very cold on this season, but I'm warming to him now with a change of manager. I think Vardy could go on a run.
Yeah, no, my only issue with Vardy is I always look to see, is a player worth their price? And you don't mind paying a lot for a player that's going to get good returns. And the problem I find with Vardy is that he doesn't have a great track record against lesser teams, and Leicester have lots of lesser teams. I'd actually be more confident getting him in if he had a tough run. He will score a goal but then get a booking and then miss out on bonus. So you kind of look at kind of 5 points or something for him, and he's just under 9 million. But then I look at Maddison and that creativity you mentioned, Barnes, that value there, and all of those shots that he's having. And I still think Pereira is a good pick. I'm going to probably recount that in about 3 weeks. But at the moment, I still think he's a good pick. But David, can we come back to you for a couple of things? We'll look at your team, but also can you reveal to us the team sheets for Spurs against Arsenal?
I can, yes. Some people might have seen that Piers Morgan is all of a sudden acting like he can be some kind of source of Arsenal team knowledge.
Piers Morgan thinks he's a source of knowledge. That's not like him.
No, I know. Well, we'll come back to that in a minute. We've got the Spurs team. Lloris in goal, Trippier, Alderweireld, Sanchez, Vertonghen, and Rose. As they're listing it kind of as a back 5, but I think we know that's a back 3 with the wing backs pushing on. Wanyama, Sissoko, Ericsson, Son, and Kane. So I'd imagine that is some kind of 3-5-2 with Son and Kane up front again. Obviously, a lot of people put off by Son last couple of weeks, but of course the Arsenal defence isn't particularly great. And it would appear that Piers Morgan was actually right about something the first time ever in his life. He suggested that Aubameyang and Ozil weren't in the starting 11, and that is exactly what's happened. Aubameyang and Ozil are on the bench, which is crazy when you consider the significance of this match and how well those two, played against Bournemouth. So Leno in goal, Mustafi, Socrates, Koscielny, Monreal as what kind of looks like, I guess, there's 4 centre-backs there. So I'm not really sure who's getting deployed where. I guess Monreal's on the left, but I'm not really sure who the right-back is. We've got Guendouzi, Xhaka, Ramsey, Iwobi, Mkhitaryan and Lacazette. Arsenal are one of those teams that don't list their team in formation. They just do it as a list, and I find that so frustrating. So we'll probably find out more about that formation as the morning kind of moves along. But yeah, very big call there to bench Aubameyang for one of Arsenal.
So yeah, let's look over that because there's a few issues there. Kolasinac, popular player.
Oh, sorry, yes, Kolasinac on the bench as well. Yes.
Yeah, Kolasinac on the bench. So that's interesting. A lot of people would have relied on him because he's, of course, if you don't worry about clean sheets with Arsenal, but he's got assist potential, and I would imagine a lot of his owners would have started him, and quite rightly so. But that's unfortunate. Yeah, it's difficult. This is why I'm avoiding Aubameyang and Lacazette. I have all season. Because whilst I like on paper Aubameyang and on paper I like Lacazette, I don't know whether they're going to start. And if I don't know, if a player costs 9 million or more and I don't know where they're going to start, I'm just not interested. FPL General, what about you with Arsenal strikers? Have you been burnt by them this season, or have you kind of avoided them, or will you avoid them now?
I can't believe he's benched Aubameyang in that fixture. That really just baffles me. Emery's just turning into Pep Mark 2. You just can't predict what he's going to do. Yeah. I have avoided, for the most part this season, Aubameyang and Lacazette. I did own Aubameyang for a short spell. It was probably only 2 or 3 game weeks, and he did okay for me. I can't remember who I moved him on for. It might have been Kane at one point. But yeah, again, today just shows why I've been avoiding him. You just can't predict what he's going to do. And we've seen it all season with Aubameyang and Lacazette. It doesn't seem to be a favoured striker, and he changes system so often. Yeah, Ozil was superb at the weekend as well, so I would have expected him to play, and Kolasinac as well. I know Kolasinac had an injury issue, but surprised to see him on the bench as well. So I think Spurs will win that one there.
Yeah, I do as well.
Good news for those who kept Son. That defence is terrible.
Yes, yeah. Now Son is the other issue. I'm very pleased about that as a Son owner. I've stuck with him. I think he could do well. One of the videos we did this week, I did a bit of research. I think it was the captaincy one I did with you, David. Bit of research into these North London derbies. And it's basically gone with the home team in the league for the last 2 or 3 seasons. And I don't see that changing looking at those teams. I don't even think Emery thinks that's going to change. Benching Aubameyang, as you said, it just beggars belief.
It's like he's written it off.
Yeah.
It kind of looks like the team you'd put out in a Europa League match.
Yeah.
That's what looks so strange about it.
Yeah, it's like, we're about to go and face Carrier Bag FC or whatever from Uzbekistan. And so let's put this lot out. Not so good. David, let's focus on your team. So you've just dipped out of the top 10,000, but you've been hovering well within that for many weeks. We mentioned on the Scoutcast this week your superhuman abilities around captaincy have just deserted you. We described like He-Man without the power of Grayskull. He was just a mere bloke in slightly longer trousers.
Thor without his hammer, Captain America without his shield.
Indeed. So let's have a look at your team. If you could describe kind of your key men there, and also if any changes that you've made as well.
Yeah. So I never really considered Sterling at all. I know a lot of people have been talking about it. I understand the case for it completely. It makes total sense. But I've had a lot. I mean, this is obviously the best season I've ever had, and I'm trying to review that as I go along. Like, what decisions am I making that I'm paying off? And largely, I think some of the best decisions that I've made this season have been to ignore the clamour for an individual if it is only for 1 week. So we had it with Kane and the Cardiff match all the way back in like game week 8 or 9, something like that. We had it with Aubameyang in week 27. And so then by sticking to my plan and kind of really shutting myself off from wider opinion. Not in a way that kind of means I'm only doing this on my own, but just sort of rather than getting sucked into something. While I think Sterling will do well this week, I've got to plan for my chip strategy, which is I'm not going to play the free hit chip in 31. So what I did was I knew I needed to get rid of Sané. He was the obvious full guy. I think we all agree Sané's usefulness is over now, though I'm sure he'll score a hat-trick now I've said that. But it was a choice between Sané and Son to go. I kept Son because I don't trust Arsenal's defence, and that's when I thought they were going to play a first team instead of their Europa League team. So I'm very excited about that now. I couldn't really think of anyone really this week. I couldn't see anyone this week who I thought I could get for Sané. I could have got Sterling, but then if I'm going to be going into, if I'm building my team up for 31, there's just no point in me signing another Man City player. I'd rather get my team set up now. So I've gone for Mane. So a lot of people have been downgrading Salah to Mane, and I've got both. I think having both is going to be the better option when we go into that blank game week. And just this particular Everton match, I think that there is a strong chance that Everton could lose this quite heavily, just because of what we were talking about the other day, Joe. Everton's defence last 6 home matches, no one's conceded more shots in the box, no one's conceded more big chances, and unless something incredible happens in the sense that they are all really up for a Merseyside derby, that's probably one of the most important we've had in a long time, because obviously it could, damage Liverpool.
It was like a fantasy football stats version of dueling banjos, and you were coming at me with like Everton are this bad, and these are some stats at home, and then I was saying, well, hey, wait a minute, here's some other ones, and then you would come back with more, and basically just mounted up, and
exactly,
as you said.
So the case for a Liverpool triple up, I think we all want to have a triple up. I think for game week 31, I know that the defenders all did really, really well against Watford the other night, but I still don't trust their defence. It hasn't been as good, like generally speaking, as it has before. So Salah and Mane, the statistics that they've been kind of posting and I've been seeing in the members area over the last 6 game weeks, they look fantastic. They're the ones I want. And I think just on that Watford game, they conceded so many shots, so many goals from either crosses into the box or set pieces, which Watford, that's like their Achilles heel, is balls into the box and set pieces. So it's kind of no surprise that happened for those defensive players, like Alexander-Arnold taking the free kicks, Van Dijk being on the end of them. Liverpool aren't going to face a team that's as bad at defending set pieces every week as Watford. Everton, to be honest, actually are another one. So your Liverpool defenders may actually still get attacking returns this week. But I just think Fulham away, just even if Scott Parker sorts something out, the personnel there, I'd much rather be doubling up on the attack than the defence in 31. So I figured just get Mane now, and I've now got 8 players for game week 31, so I'm pretty happy with what I'm
sorted. I'm just pulled the goals imminent table back on again because I am pretty obsessed with it. But it's just because Salah's second on there, and he's had 16 goal attempts last 4, 8 in the box and 7 on target. And as someone who monitors the goals imminent table each week, this is good. That is a good sign. What you want to see is lots of shots, lots on target, and lots in the box as well. And when you've got all 3 of those, goals will come. It's when you see, you sometimes see, like Benteke's on it sometimes, loads of shots, none on target, or loads of shots, or something like that. Or Coutinho was another one, loads of shots, none in the box. So he would go through 4 or 5 weeks without scoring, and then suddenly get a big haul. But yeah, so I just wanted to bring that up again because you're right, people are looking to get rid of Salah, and I don't think that's a wise move, especially with game week 31. Elsewhere in your team, you've got Pogba there. Now you've gone for a front line, a cheapy front line, and this is something that Mark Southerns of Fantasy Football Scout fame has spoken about in videos before, and this is why he's had such a successful season. He's pretty much ignored all of the likes of Aguero and Kane, and he's just stuck with a very similar strike force that you have. So you've got Rondon, Jimenez and Ashley Barnes, super Ashley Barnes I should say, as well. So is that something you're going to stick with, or are you tempted to kind of go big up top again?
I probably will do that once the blanks are out of the way. So the Vardy's looking nice, maybe for the blanks, Higuain maybe as well. But I just didn't really trust those in the build-up to game week 31. I kind of made my... I'm at the stage now where I don't really want to be making too many more transfers for the blanks that involve removing someone who's going to play. So I'm kind of locked in with Rondon and Barnes, and then Jimenez obviously is the only other one that I could move on. But with the profit that's tied up in him, I'm not going to be having 15 players for those. He's probably going to be one I might keep because I'm probably going to want him back for some of the doubles and just the fixtures that Wolves have anyway. So I'm quite happy with the formation that I've got right now. The main thing that I do want to get back to a stage where I have a fifth midfielder, because I haven't had one since, I don't know, like mid-December. I've just had, so I'm benching Anderson this week because I just think he looks rubbish at the moment anyway. And I don't want to do that because, I still think that Anderson could nick something. So really my main concern is to just get a benchable midfielder again. But it's just, I've been telling myself I want to do that for absolutely ages, and then something always comes up. I was going to do it for Game Week 25, and then we got the announcement that was going to be a double. So rather than using one of my 2 free transfers to downgrade someone and then upgrade someone else, it was like, okay, right, well now I need to get 2 Man City midfielders. And then, that didn't go too well. So, structure will change at some point, but just it's going to be in a few weeks.
As I said, it's been a strategy for success for many managers as well. And just coming back to you, Mark, with that as well. So you've had a very slightly similar way I've been playing. I've often had a big striker. So I've had either Kane or Aguero or Firmino, and then two other very playable ones. But you've had the Kamara issue. Kamara's been your fifth midfielder in a way, your proper third striker you don't play. Do you think that may have been a lesson learned from this season, is to perhaps even spend a hit or so and have removed Kamara early and perhaps upgraded him to, say, Barnes or Rondon? Because over the last month, having one of those players, that would have been an extra, possibly, I haven't checked, but it seems around an extra at least 20 to 30 points by making that move.
Yeah, for sure. There's just always been other issues, and I haven't ever got the chance to move Kamara on, which has been the main issue. But yeah, your point's completely right. When you've got a player like Barnes who's such good value, and it's only about a million more. I should have done that one a lot earlier. Back to David's team, you've got to, whatever you do, David, before you move back to your premium strikers, take a screenshot of those 3 strikers so you can tell your grandkids in the season you had Rondon, Ashley Barnes and Jimenez up front.
Oh, it's such a good trio. Yeah, more just the reason it should be screenshotted is just so that they believe it was worth having. I think that's the funny thing is, I think as was saying on Twitter a couple of days ago, it was like, because he had Rashford, I think Barnes and Jimenez, and he was like, I can't believe that's my front line, but it's a good front line. Like that's the weird thing is actually worth having. I'm quite excited about this front line today because those 3 players especially, their shots in the box over the last 4 game weeks, they're up there with your Agueros and your better than Aubameyang, even more than Salah, more than Mane. So I'd be surprised if Jimenez, for example, if he's not like 8 million next season, I'll be quite surprised. So we have to definitely remember this.
I like your Mane Salah double up as well. I'm undecided of who's going to be my third Liverpool player between Mane and Trent, but I don't think I'm going to move Salah. I do like the attacking double up for the blanks.
Yeah, we spoke about this before, about the attacking double up being a differential in itself. So when you're faced with a hugely owned player like Salah, who everyone's going to captain many weeks, the best way is not to get. Some people think the best way is to get rid of Salah. The best way is to get more points from that team if you think he's going to get more. I attempted that with Firmino, and it worked to some degree at the start, and then didn't, and it became evident that Mane was the one really to have. So I do regret that. But also Firmino got injured as well, and he could come back today. But I think Mane's definitely the one if you want to go down that route. Let's have a look at my team as well now. So I've made one move, really boring as people would expect of me. I got rid of Laporte, who is Laporte's not injured, not going to be back until after the international break. So he's a player I had to move on. I've got the security of knowing I haven't dumped a player who's going to punish me this week, because he can't. So I've got David Luiz, and David Luiz is a player I targeted for this period. On the Scoutcast, I mentioned that because of injuries to Laporte, and I was feeling a bit iffy about certain players, and also I was starting to like a lot of players that were playing Game Week 31 and 33 for this period, I switched strategy. I was going to free hit in Game Week 31 because I was kind of even for both. I could have gone both ways on that. So Game Week, I'm loading up on Game Week 31. I haven't got as many as you, David. I've got about 6, I think, now. And I reckon with a hit or 2 hits, I can get up to 10. I'm going to go without a goalie because I've got Foster and Guaita. And both of those, one of those will definitely play in Game Week 33, because of the way that the fixtures pan out in the FA Cup. It means that there will be a blank for one of them, but only one. So I definitely want to keep them because I know I've got a goalie then, and I'm quite happy to. I don't really want to take a hit for a goalie just for Game Week 31. That doesn't make sense to me. It'd be 10 maximum with me, probably 9. So I've gone for Pogba as captain as well. In the bunch I've got is good. Salah, as you can see, I've got the vice captain on. I was very tempted by. For those listening to the podcast version, I've gone with Foster today. I don't think Guaita or Foster will keep a clean sheet, but I do think Foster will get lots of save points because he has every week. I've got Robertson, Doherty, David Luiz, and then in midfield Philippe Anderson, and I've gone for Son, Pogba and Salah, Jimenez, Aguero and Super Ashley Barnes up front. Now I think I'm going to need my bench this week. There are multiple rumours circulating from alleged in the nose around the Wolves camp that Doherty and Jimenez are going to be dropped because they have a crucial FA Cup game coming up, and then they've got Chelsea next, and there's a feeling that they're going to have a rest. It could be that rest comes against Chelsea. We don't know. These are all just rumours, so but it puts doubt in my mind there. Aguero, of course, there is an option for Pep. He could start with Jesus and perhaps play Sterling up front, or those two, and then just give Aguero a complete rest, or Aguero might just get some minutes, but there is a risk there. So I've got Pereira, and the big choice for me was Philippe Anderson and Pereira. Which of those two I played this week, whether I go 4-3-3 or 3-4-3, which is what I've gone with, and it came down to basically home fixture, and I think both those fixtures, Leicester, Watford, Newcastle, West Ham, there's so much of muchness. They're the most mid-table. I can't quite call this. They could be 0-0, they could be 3-0, it could be 4-3. It's really hard to tell because none of those teams really have a tremendous amount to play for. I think Newcastle must be safe now. I mean, certainly in their performances, they should be safe. And so that's a tricky one. I don't know. Either of you two have any thoughts on whether I might have blundered there and Leicester's Pereira will punish me?
No, I would have went the same way. I would have started Felipe Anderson. It's two bad apples. Trying to pick the worst of two bad apples really at the moment. So the way Leicester have been defending, I really don't see them keeping a clean sheet against Watford. Watford are a team I always fancy to score. So hopefully Felipe Anderson can do something for us. So that is the way I would have went. I like your transfer as well. I like David Luiz in. He is a player most likely will come into my squad soon as well. I think he's the pick of the Chelsea defenders for the upcoming fixtures.
Yeah, plays 31-33 and a very likely excellent double in 32. I'm actually tempted by a Chelsea defensive double up. Definitely Game Week 32. Because
who would be your other one?
Azpilicueta. I just think he's nailed on. And as we've seen each week, he's got multiple routes to points. He gets the bonus. He can get the odd assist. On a very rare occasion, he'll get the goal. And I'm buoyed up by getting Laporte for the Man City's double, in which he got his goal and assist for the season. As well as
that double looks really tasty if it's confirmed. Will it be Fulham and Cardiff?
Yeah. Which would be
be nice to have a 1 game week fling with our old love Alonso for the double.
It could be. I think it's very hard with Sarri's comments in the press conference to work out whether he loves Alonso or doesn't love him. I cannot work it out. And he had some.
I think we're all the same, right?
Yeah, because
that's what we feel.
He had it's the same. But he has him in his team, and that's the problem with him. His fantasy side, that is. I think. Yeah, one of his comments, it seemed to indicate that Emerson was preferred, and then Alonso started. I can't can't predict it as well. I think it's tricky. There's just a couple of other things I want to mention. So I want to talk about attacking defenders as well. So I put it's a table I've put up on the screen. It's looking at defenders who've had most shots in the box over the last 4 game weeks. So it's slightly skewed because not everyone's played the same amount of games, but you get the basic gist of it really. Because I'm looking at these types of players perhaps for game week 32 for the double up, and also game weeks 31 and 33. But especially for a double, I often find that defenders are the ones, they always emerge as the top players, as Laporte did last time around, and I think there's more in there as well. So I'll just go through this and then I'll ask you to kind of chip in with your thoughts. So we've got Duffy from Brighton. No clean sheet's going to be there for Brighton, but boy, could he get some goals. So he's had 1 goal in the last 4 game weeks, 8 shots in the box. That's fantastic. Tarkowski at Burnley, he's one I'm now interested in, very much so, as a possible differential. I think he could be an interesting one for game weeks 31 and 33. I think he's due a goal, really. He's had quite a lot of shots and 6 of those inside the box as well, so I think that's really good. And I think as well, there's some other really good, interesting ones there. Maguire now, I'm wondering if Maguire might be the Leicester defender to get. In the same way Van Dijk is emerging as a key Liverpool defender to own. And there's some other good interests. Cher, the songstress Cher,
Got to get it
mention. Yeah, I don't want to offend Cher fans. They're all wigged up, and Cher, as we know he's been delivering as well, and so no surprise there. And then you got the likes of Bolly. I'm just going to skip over Johnny Evans because he's a horrendous troll. Don't go near him. Doherty there, and Sol Bamba for Cardiff as well. I don't think they're going to get any clean sheets, but he does get in the box a lot. He does look quite threatening. So just out of those bunch or any we haven't mentioned as well, what sort of attacking defenders are either of you looking at for the coming game weeks, whether it be a double or a single? Could I go with you first, Mark?
Yeah, the two I would pick out from that list are Shane Duffy and Fabian Schär, 2 players who have passed the eye test for me big time this season. And even just this week, I watched the highlights from the Brighton Leicester game, and Duffy should have scored again, which would have been his 6th of the season. So he's a no-brainer, I think, when it comes to double game weeks for Brighton. We're getting to the stage of the season now as well. We need to be thinking about players that have something to play for, and Brighton certainly do. So I think Duffy is going to be a good pick. Schär, again, watched the Burnley game midweek, and I just like how he has license to step out from the back and get forward, and that's how he got his 25-yard cracker. There was a few other occasions where he broke into the box as well from open play. So it's not just set pieces with Schär. You get there's a chance for assists and goals from open play as well. So those are 2 are high on my radar.
Now, and what about you, David?
Yeah, no, I think about Schär as well. His price just looks great, and I think for me the key is that he doesn't need set pieces. The handy thing about Newcastle is that they are playing with 3 centre backs with that 5-4-1 system, and Benitez doesn't really seem to want to change it because it is working really well. And when he does play with that system, it does allow Schär to step forward. And actually, Schär is someone who anyone who's played any FIFA or any Football Manager in the last sort of 5 years, he's one of those players who, if you sign, he can play in like any position in midfield or in defence. So I'm not surprised at all that he can come out and he can do that. So that's Football Manager and FIFA getting it right again. But crucially, the set pieces thing is the important thing for me, because I think when I'm looking at those sorts of defenders, the ones that interest me more are normally the wing backs, because they can do things in open play. We were just having a chat yesterday on the editorial team about set pieces and how sometimes they can be a little bit misleading about chances that get created from them, chances that players have from them, because set pieces, generally speaking, it's quite rare that a corner goes in and it just gets nodded into the goal straight away. If that happens more than once in a game, it's kind of really against the averages. I can't remember the exact figure, but I'm sure that someone did some research into how often corners lead to goals, and it's something like 3 or 4% of the time. I think it was Mourinho who once said it as well. Like, we're one of those countries that we seem to get really excited about corners, but actually, like, no other country does, because they're not necessarily as effective as you think. So then, some of the centre backs, like Van Dijk, for example, I'm not going to really go for him because I just feel like 2 goals against Watford. That's not going to happen again. Maguire is someone that I've had in the past because he potentially do well in those situations. Actually, I think I had him in World Cup Fantasy as well. And it's sort of like you find yourself really interested in every corner, and then you're okay, well, never mind then. Whereas someone like Doherty, he's an attacking player who's always in the box, or a Pereira's the same. I mean, obviously, Duffy does look quite good, but I would be more inclined of the players you mentioned to kind of focus on those who can do well from open play. I mean, that's just my preference, really.
A good example of your misleading stats from set pieces is Cardiff. So if you look at the stats every week, Sean Morrison is obviously he's usually top for touches in the box, but hasn't scored this season. And it's Sol Bamba who always looks the most alive in the box, where getting knockdowns and things like that. So the stats can definitely be misleading, especially when it does come to.
Well, that's one of the reasons I pulled up the shots inside the box stat there, because in terms of these attacking defenders, so we can those other stats about the assist potential, the crosses going in as well. And we know the benefit of those, but I think this one's important because it's not just about having a lot of shots; it's where you are in them. So if you are that player, and as you said, it's clear Morrison is not the man who's going to get those goals for Cardiff. If they're going to get those types of goals, it's going to be Bamba as well, and Bolly as well. So many times, I think there was one of our first breakfast clubs we did. I had Bolly first on the bench against Man City, and I said, "I bet you he scores to punish me," and he did.
Quality that was.
And but the thing is, the stats said that he was going to get goals like that, and I think you're right there. But for now, I think we'll have to leave it there. It's been great to have you on, Mark, and you, David, as well. I think both of your teams are really good this week. I think my team's really good this week. We don't have Sterling though, but every time I think my team looks good, I get one of the worst
Red
scores.
arrow confirmed.
So, good luck, Mark. Good luck, David. And
good luck, lads.
Thanks so much for joining us.
Cheers, guys. Good luck with the game week.